They carried no guns, they wore no medals, yet they fought one of the most secret battles of World War II, not with bullets, but with paint, sound, and lies. The Germans never saw them coming, because they were never really there. This is the story of the Ghost Army. In the spring of 1944, as the Allies prepared for D-Day, a strange group of soldiers arrived in England. They didn't look like the usual troops. Instead of rifles, they carried sketch pads. Instead of grenades, they packed paintbrushes, sound recorders, and rubber tanks. Many of them were artists, designers, and sound engineers, men who once created billboards, advertisements, and theater sets. But now, their job was to create something far more dangerous: illusions. They were officially known as the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, but among those who knew them, they were called the Ghost Army. Their mission was simple and almost unbelievable: to trick the German army into thinking entire divisions of American soldiers were where none actually existed. The idea came from a desperate need for deception. By 1944, the Allies were preparing for the final push into Nazi-occupied Europe. If the Germans guessed where the real invasion was happening, thousands of lives could be lost. So, the U.S. Army decided to weaponize imagination. These soldiers trained to make war look real, without ever firing a shot. They inflated massive rubber tanks that looked exactly like the M for Shermans. They painted them with mud, added fake tire tracks, even hung laundry nearby to make it look like soldiers were camping there. From a distance, through a German spy plane's camera, it looked absolutely real. But the magic didn't stop there. The sound engineers, many from Hollywood and radio studios, carried huge speakers mounted on trucks. They played hours of recorded battle sounds: tanks rumbling, men shouting, artillery firing. The sound could travel up to 15 miles, making the illusion perfect. Meanwhile, radio operators created fake transmissions, using real military codes, pretending to be entire divisions moving in and out of the front lines. They studied how real units talked, how long they stayed on air, and mimicked every detail. The Germans, listening in, had no idea they were being fooled by actors. By June 1944, as D-Day unfolded in Normandy, the Ghost Army went into action. Their first major deception took place near the French village of Rennes. They were to convince the Germans that a massive U.S. armored division was preparing to attack from the south, while the real one moved quietly elsewhere. In less than 24 hours, they created a fake army of tanks, artillery, and tents stretching for miles. To local villagers, it looked like an unstoppable force had arrived overnight. But every tank was filled with air. Every soldier carried a paintbrush. The illusion worked. German reconnaissance planes spotted the army, and enemy commanders redirected real troops to face them, leaving the true American advance unopposed. The deception saved hundreds, maybe thousands, of lives. But the Ghost Army's missions were never without danger. In many operations, they worked just a few miles from the real front lines. If the Germans discovered their secret, they could be slaughtered. In minutes, they had no real weapons to defend themselves, only art and courage. In one tense moment near the Rhine River, a Ghost Army team was setting up fake tanks when German scouts opened fire. The men froze. One soldier whispered, "Don't shoot back. It'll ruin the illusion." They ducked for cover and continued working, pretending to be fearless soldiers while praying the enemy didn't get closer. By March 1945, as the Allies crossed into Germany, the Ghost Army launched their most dangerous mission yet, Operation Viersen. Their task: to convince the Germans that the main crossing of the Rhine would happen 10 miles north of the real one. It was a suicide mission of deception. They had to appear strong enough to draw enemy fire, but invisible enough not to get killed. Over 3 days, they inflated hundreds of dummy tanks, blasted fake radio messages, and filled the night air with the sound of war. German scouts believed it. Artillery rained down on the fake positions, while real Allied forces crossed the river safely elsewhere. When the smoke cleared, the Ghost Army had saved countless American lives, using nothing but art and illusion. Throughout the war, the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops staged more than 20 major deceptions across Europe. They were made up of just 1,100 men, yet they managed to fool the Germans into believing they were over 30,000 strong. Their ranks included artists who would later become world famous, men like Ellsworth Kelly and Bill Blass, who would go on to shape modern art and fashion. But during the war, their greatest masterpiece wasn't on canvas, it was on the battlefield. When the war ended, their story was buried under top-secret files. For decades, no one knew what these men had done. Their missions remained classified until 1996. Many of them had already passed away, never recognized, never honored, never even allowed to tell their families what they'd done. When the truth finally came out, historians were stunned. The Ghost Army had played a crucial role in confusing and dividing German forces, protecting real soldiers who fought and bled across Europe. Their deception was so convincing that even Nazi generals later admitted they'd fallen for it. Again and again, they were artists who turned war into theater, painters who painted with sound, shadow, and courage. And though they never fired a single bullet, they fought a war that saved thousands. In 2022, almost 80 years later, the U.S. Congress finally awarded the Ghost Army the Congressional Gold Medal, honoring their bravery and brilliance. It was a tribute long overdue. So the next time you see a painting, a film, or a clever illusion, remember, once upon a time, art itself became a weapon, and the men who wielded it were the Ghost Army.